All right, hey everybody, welcome back to Jessica and Harris. Welcome to the channel. Good to you guys to be here. There we go. Sorry about that, y'all. I'm getting phone calls trying to block the calls right quick. Anyways, I'm really excited for you guys to be here as always. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. Oh my goodness. So today's conversation real quickly. Y'all catch me in my car. For the lives, y'all probably gonna catch me in my car. Because I just be out and about all day. But anyways, I wanted to talk about sharing your truth. Yes, the good, bad, and the ugly. Oh my gosh. And the reason why I wanted to share this was because I was going through my comments on the Texas one for a few of them, and I noticed that many of you guys who have been following, or those of you who are tuning in, whatever the case may be, y'all are all saying, thank you for sharing your story, or that your story is similar to my story, or something of that sort, right? And I wanted to share with you guys the concept of it's okay to share your story. And I shared that saying with you from a person who didn't want to share their story. As y'all heard in my previous, like the first video with Texas, I moved to Texas back in June. I wasn't the person who was like, ooh, let me record my every move, let me record what I'm doing, X, Y, and Z. That wasn't me. And the reason being was because I wasn't in the right place to want to like share the experiences of what I have been through, or to share like just how I was feeling about the move and things of that nature. I wasn't in the right place to do it for me. I'm not saying that's your story. It may not be. There's some of you guys who are very transparent off rip, and you don't mind just showing the world everything. I'm the person who was kind of like the opposite. Like, I don't want people in my business. And God had to get me out of that mindset of it's not about people being in your business. It's about them being able to see the glory of the Lord working in your life. It's getting people to be able to see that God is able to do things that others would deem impossible. It's getting others to see that even if you've gone through X, Y, and Z, God can still make you heal, whole, cleanse, and clean. And that's the part that I had to understand. And also, it was in one of the comments from someone from earlier. Listen, forgive me if I couldn't catch your name, but they had made a comment, that God is all about the process, and that is accurate. That is 100% correct. Because last year he was making it clear through other leaders that I had been watching and other things that I was involved in, that he wanted his people to see the process. He was tired of people seeing things from like the beginning and then the end, and then people thinking like, man, but they went from X to X and it looks so fast, it looks so smooth, it looks so clean, it was so quick. And guys, like, they think that because they didn't have an opportunity to see the processing. They didn't have an opportunity to see the makings of it, right? It's like baking a cake. You saw me put it inside the bowl, right? The batter, everything mixed together, and then maybe, or not even, nope, let's do it. Well, we're going to talk about a box cake because I ain't never made a cake from scratch. So maybe you seen the box, right? The cake mix batter. Okay, cool. You saw that, great, and then you saw the end result. But you had no idea about me having to crack the eggs, about me having to measure out the oil and measuring the water, right? And measuring whatever else is needed to be able to stir it up, and then being able to get it to the right consistency. You didn't see that processing. You didn't see that I had to sit there and make sure that I measured it to the accurate, right? I think it's like a third of water or whatever the case was. You didn't see that I had to stir and stir and stir until all the clumps was out of it, until it got to a smooth texture, right? You didn't see that part. All you saw was a box cake and then the finished product, right? That nice iced out cake. Got me some body armor today. It's good. I ain't really like body armor, but this orange mango, it actually ain't bad. It's my little plug for body armor. I tried it. I like it. That flavor I like, because the other ones I ain't really care for. Anyways, I wanted to bring that up because we have to trust God in the process, and we have to trust that God is going to bring us through it. Oh gosh, y'all, I wish I had some real water, but I don't. Anyways, and in the midst of trusting God through the process, we have to be able to be okay with the good part, the bad parts, and the ugly. And not all of it is going to be fun. Not all of it is going to be nice. Not all of it is going to be smooth. There's going to be some disappointments. There's going to be some anger maybe. right? There's going to be some feelings, some high emotions, and that's the part where we have to be able to give it to God, but acknowledge that we went through it. The example that I could give is this week or last week. I had got comments on my video, excuse me, and people were asking about my kids. My kids are a very sensitive topic for me. As y'all can see, they're not with me. They're at home. And because they're at home, my bad, y'all. And because they're at home, there's a lot of mixed feelings, mixed emotions that I have about it. And I told my friend, I was like, everybody keeps asking about the kids. Like, because the situation was a bit sticky with their dad and me and all this other stuff, that it was like, it felt like uncharted territories. That's the way I was feeling about it. And I had to realize that I had to get out of my feelings. I had to realize that when I started seeing people's comments like, I'm in the same situation, I'm not sure what I'm doing with my own kids, or maybe I am taking my kids, or I had to leave my own kids, right? I understood that they had a story, but they wanted to know what else happened, right? Maybe they're about to go through this major transition and they're trying to figure out what I went through that may help them go through what they're going through. Or maybe they just want some uplifting and encouragement. Or maybe they just want to know what happened. It's like reading a book and you got through part one, but it's like, okay, but what next, right? You know, you get to the end of a series, of a movie or a TV show, and you're like, okay, but you left me hanging because what happened next? And I had to understand that people have to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. They have to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because even though it may be good, it may be bad, or it may be ugly, God still gets the glory. Because God's word tells us that everything, or all things, right, works out for the good of those who love the Lord, who are called according to his purpose. So when I look at that scripture, I have to understand that all of it. That means that even the times where I can't talk to my kids, or even the times where I can't do this, or I can't do that, or even the times where things are going great, God is still about to use all of those very situations in my life for him to get the glory, because I'm called to his purpose. And the same thing is for you guys. And I share that part because I wanted to be transparent to let you guys know up front. I wasn't excited about, I'm going to share the story about my kids and their dad and all these other pieces, because these were things that were really private for me. These were things that were like, I don't want people in my business like that, because there was things that I had to confront with myself about how I felt. And I had to sit with God and allow him to like just help me to understand that my journey isn't just for me. That my journey is attached to others who are going to be going through something similar, or there's others who are already there, or there's others who have been there before. And I had to understand that when you share your good, your bad, and your ugly, it gives someone else permission to be able to acknowledge their own. Sometimes people want to be able to acknowledge how they're feeling. Sometimes people want to be able to acknowledge what they've gone through. Sometimes people want to be able to acknowledge that it's not just them, right? I went through my journey, and for a minute, it felt like everybody else is moving, God, but why I had to leave my people behind, right? Or some left theirs behind for like 3 months. I've been gone for 7. And it's like, God, what up here? And it was understanding that my processing was different, but it's okay to share it. It's understanding that when people start to see the move of God in my life, you won't be wondering, well, what did she even get through? What did she even go through, right? Why does she even deserve all these things? You can go back to these videos. You can go back to these testimonies. You can go back to my story. And you can see, like, okay, I see. She done been through some stuff. I see. Even though she had to do that, she still made it out on top. And I share that part with y'all because sometimes you have to understand in your own situation that you may have gone through something, but it didn't take you out. Share that story with somebody. How many times have you sat there, been on Facebook, and watched them gold casts where they talk about this celebrity or that person, whatever the case was, and they talk about, how famous they are and whatnot, and then they go backwards, right? And you see the story about how their childhood was, or how their teenage years was, or how it was for them getting into the industry of where they was at. And when you do it, you're like, dang, I didn't even know they went through all that. Why? Because we focused so much on their success that we have no idea of what it took to get there. They may be successful today and have this 10-year, 15-year career in whatever industry they're in, but we don't know about the 10 years of failure that took place before it, right? We don't know about the fact that they went through, I don't know why famine is coming to mind, or like obesity was coming to mind, but like, right, they may have gone through some extreme things in their life. We don't know those histories, right? We don't know that they were the kid that was made fun of. We don't know that they're the kid who may have gotten into fights, right? We don't know the ins and outs of their childhood. So when we see these, not even just celebrities, but I'm going to use them as the example, but when we see these people who are like celebrities or famous people, whatever the case is, we see them in their glory of right now. But no one ever talks about their past. So when we look at to where they are, it almost seems like an impossible concept for us. I can't even be as good as them. Dang, they got everything. I can't be as good as X, Y, and Z. I can't attain that because it looks impossible. But it only looks impossible because we're not able to acknowledge the faults or the down things that they may have gone through beforehand. And that's why it's so important for you to share your journey, to share your story, to be able to embrace that testimony that you're being built in right now. God is doing major testimonies across the board. Major, major, major testimonies. And it's because it's giving you the opportunity to share your story. It's giving the opportunity for God to get the glory. And it's giving an opportunity for people to understand that there was a processing that it took for you to get to where he's bringing you to. We don't just get somewhere like that without putting in the work. Now, for many of us, many of y'all, it's going to look like an overnight process. The truth is, what looks like overnight took work. It took time. It took years of building. It took years of processing. It took years of pruning. It took you going into a place with God being able to be stripped of the former so he could build you into your new version of yourself. But how will people understand that concept of how you was able to get from A to Z if you don't share the in-between? If I sit there and show you this box of cake, right, and then I show you the finished product, you'll never understand the process of what it took for me to get to the cake. You'll just be like, oh, so I got this box of cake and it's just going to be cake when I open the box. No. You got to crack the eggs. You got to measure out the ingredients, the oil, the water, mix it in, stir it up. You got to go through the process. You got to let it sit. You got to let it rest. You got to let it bake. But if I don't tell you the inside, the middle part of what it took to get to the final product, you'll think that it can happen overnight when that's not the truth. So embrace your story. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And know that your story can be shared in multiple ways. It doesn't just have to be on YouTube the way I'm sharing right now. It could be in books. It could be in movies. It could be in plays. It can be in blogs. It could be in podcasts. People love stories. People love to be encouraged. People love to be inspired. Your story is worth hearing. Your story is worth being shared. Your story is worth being put out into the world to see, because that's how God is going to get the glory. People have to see the move of God that's taking place in your life. He has to be able to get the glory out of it. You have to be able to witness and to testify as to how you have been called by God to do whatever it is. Being called by God doesn't mean that you're having to be in a church building. Being called by God is having God say, I have called you to be a witness of mine, to go out in the world in whatever industry I have placed you in. In my case, it's being a publisher. In my case, it's being a transformation coach. In other cases, it's people who are singers. It's people who are rappers. Like, being called by God is being called to just serve God in whatever industry he has placed you in. And then testifying to how he got you there. We have faith by hearing. Think about the stories in the Bible. How do we get encouraged? By faith. But how do we get the faith? By reading the stories. We need real-time stories of today to build up our faith. Share your testimony. It's going to build someone else's faith. It's going to build someone else's faith walk. I know that to be true because before I moved, I had to listen to other people's videos to encourage me to be able to step out on faith. because I needed some encouragement to know that I wasn't the only one who was about to do this journey on my own. I had to see someone else do this journey. And I was like, okay, they may not have done it just like me, but they did it somewhat similar. They left everything and they just dipped. And I said, okay, God, if they did it, I could do it too. And it pushed me. Why do you think God wants us to be able to share our journey? Because he knows that there's others who are attached to you, that are coming behind you, who need to see you thrive so they can believe that they can do the same thing too. But the difference between you and the ones who came before you is that this time they're going to be able to see the process. So they can know, okay, there's a process that I have to get through, but I know I'm able to get through it. Allow yourself to be processed. Allow yourself to share it. Allow yourself to be able to be vulnerable in these very moments right now, because God is weaving and woven pieces together, and I promise you it's victorious, because that's all he does. He works in victory in all things, even when it don't look that way. I know it because I was in tears about my children before I came on this live, and I was like, but you know what, God? They got to see the process. They got to know the insides. They got to know the outs of it. If you just jumping on, catch the beginning of it. But, yeah, know that there's a process to this. Know that it doesn't happen overnight. Know that God has to work inside of you. Know that everything's not going to be just, glitz and glam all the time. Know that there's going to be times where you're just like, God, I can't do this. And then he's going to encourage you and build up your faith again, because that's God, and that's the way he works. So that is it for now. I got to get to work. But I hope you guys have an amazing day. If you are new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe, and drop y'all comments. And if y'all got stories to share, get, what is it? I think the link is on my banner. I'll probably put in the description box. Schedule a complimentary call so I can get you guys going with y'all stories. The complimentary call is a free call, 15 minutes of time. I have a book publishing company. I also am a transformational coach. I also have books and a whole bunch of other stuff, but I want to help you guys get your stories out there, because God has called me to help others share their stories and to get them into different media platforms across the board. That's the calling that God has on me, amongst others. So if you are willing to share your story, I'm willing to help you get it out there. All right, I'm out, guys. Have an amazing day.